Jack, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your insight.
Great to be here.
So you literally wrote the book on the only impeachment that's happened in New York State. It happened a century ago of Governor William Sulzer. So Jack, take me back 100 years. It is a very dramatic event. This was at the time of Tammany Hall. William Sulzer is being charged with impeachment. Tell me what was going on that year. What did the legislature want to impeach him for?
Well, William Sulzer is kind of an interesting character. As you mentioned, he comes out of Tammany Hall, was certainly a Tammany brave, but Tammany never really trusted him, and there was some back and forth, and it turned out there were some reasons for that. Once Sulzer becomes governor, one of the things that he tries to do is kind of work outside the Democratic Party system, in essence, create a Sulzer party. People who were loyal to him and not to the Democratic machine. And you can imagine that caused some friction with the Democratic machine. So there was a lot of fights about who was in charge, what did patronage look like. And then there was also on the floor a battle around direct primaries. At the time, you could only be nominated for statewide office through a convention, a statewide convention, which meant that William Sulzer had to go to the party to get support. So that was one of the mechanisms for the fight.
So what was the actual charge? It was I've read about this before. It was something to do with campaign finance. Is that right? Something he was doing with his fundraising? What was going on there?
So he ended up being impeached and charged with 7 counts. The first count and the one that he was most clearly guilty on, I think, Dan, was around campaign finance. So when he was in the state legislature, he had helped pass a law that all candidates had to certify who their money had come from and where it had gone. He spent a lot of money on different stock market accounts where he was betting the market under assumed names, but something like a couple $100,000, which was, real money in 1913.
So obviously not good things. Let's fast forward a century later and a couple of years where we are now. Governor Cuomo is facing an impeachment probe from the Assembly. The impeachment inquiry started, I think, in March, early March, and we're expecting it to go on a while. How does that compare to what we saw with Sulzer? Did the legislature take this kind of drawn-out approach to it, or did it move relatively quickly?
It was a mix. So in 1913, what the legislature did is they created a similar to the Assembly Impeachment Committee now. It became known as the Hawley Committee after a senator from Brooklyn, but it was a joint Assembly-Senate committee. They went around the state holding hearings, interviewing witnesses, subpoenaing records. It was a really very thorough thing. In contrast to today's process, that was public. A lot of that was reported in the newspapers, so we saw it as it was sort of going on. And then back then, once they accepted the report, literally the same day, the Assembly voted for impeachment. But there was a part of the Constitution that required them to wait a month, before actually holding that impeachment trial.
Is that still part of the Constitution? Like if the Assembly did that now, would we have to wait a month before the Senate has a trial, or was that done away with?
It was done away with.
It's such an interesting thing to talk about because we've only had this one impeachment in New York State history, the Sulzer impeachment, and now we're looking at Governor Cuomo. The Assembly has started its impeachment probe, as I mentioned. We might see a trial somewhere down the line. How do you see this playing out, Jack? You've been a political analyst here in Albany. You're based in Buffalo for quite a while. How do you see this playing out for Governor Cuomo given the current political climate?
Well, I think we're sort of seeing two divergent things happening, right? I mean, just as we're seeing more and more allegations, critical stories, right, reports about the governor, whether that's on nursing homes, the Tappan Zee, his conduct towards staffers, the work climate, right? We keep kind of hearing drips and drabs about how terrible that is, but at the same time, the governor is out there every day making announcements, very interestingly, standing with legislators who have called for his impeachment, standing with him and applauding some of his works. So I think we sort of have to see what these reports look like. And I think a lot more relevant than maybe this Assembly Committee report is going to be what we see from the Attorney General. I think the integrity of that office and really the background and credentials of the people that she appointed to do at least this first report, right, the sexual harassment report, I think that's going to be really telling on where we go from here.
So you had mentioned earlier that at the time, William Sulzer was kind of breaking off from the Democratic Party and kind of doing his own thing, trying to get supporters for his own priorities. And we kind of see the same thing with the Cuomo impeachment stuff. You see moderate Democrats breaking off from more to the left Democrats and standing with the governor at certain events and standing with the governor on different policies and in press releases. Do you think that we will see the same thing today come out of this impeachment trial if we have one where the Democratic Party in New York State will just be split in two? And if that's irreparable, I guess we'll wait and see.
I think it depends a lot on what these reports say, right? I mean, if they're very, very clear and concise, again, I think, as an illustration was when the Attorney General did her initial report on the nursing homes. I think even the Cuomo administration didn't deign to attack her, right? They flipped it around and said, oh, wait, their report says what we've been saying all along, which not a lot of people believed. But they felt it seemingly not politically wise to be attacking her, both because of her experience and maybe also as the highest ranking African-American woman in the state, which is a big part of his constituency. So I think a lot really hinges on what does that report look like? Is it sort of a middle road condemnation? Is it sort of he said, she said, or is it, wow, he did some bad things?
All right, well, we will see. Jack O'Donnell, author of Bitten by the Tiger and the O'Donnell and O'Donnell and Associates. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan. It was my pleasure.